there are many upgrades to existing missiles for the Soviets, but what is the future of the IR missiles that can come to the Soviet air tactory? Hello guys, once again it's Matt. Thank you all the members and patrons, and make sure to subscribe. And yeah guys, I did a video like this for other nations, like with the Python and with the AIM-9s and stuff. And what is probably the most likely missiles to come to Soviet aircraft in the future, or rather Russian aircraft and some Chinese aircraft, in the regards of IR missiles and just the future of War Thunder? Because as you know, we just got the Fox 3 missiles in the last update, and it should be a while until we receive the next stage of IR missiles, but even with that, it shouldn't be too long. So what can we expect from those nations and countries to actually have in the regards of better missiles apart from the R-73, right? Above the R-73 in terms of performance. There are some interesting things, and I will try to just maintain myself out of the non-produced aircraft for the most part, missiles for the most part, right? So the first thing is that R-27s, guys. Yes, R-27s with the T model and the ET model actually got upgrades during their lifetime. There are even some sources that claim that those missiles got like 4 upgrades during their lifetime until this day. But to be honest, it doesn't matter too much. What it matters is that in the future we might see a late model of the R-27ET and R-27T, which would bring some interesting things. These upgrades happened in the 90s, 2000s, and the main thing was to mount better seekers out of them, in them actually. The missile was exported to China, so we would expect China to actually have these missiles with a better upgraded seeker as well, and basically had 2 abilities that you could choose from with the Mark 80M and the AS-10 seekers, having an improved HOBS, or basically high off-bore shooting capability, or a better range to actually be able to lock targets from a further distance. Basically, the seeker had the AS-10, for example, had a multi-element dual-band IRCCM. So, 50-degree gimbal limit before launch, 60 degrees of gimbal limiter after launch, and just a better overall IRCCM, right? The MK80M would have a 2-element 60-degree gimbal limit before launch and a 75-degree gimbal limit after launch. So you could choose between the seekers, and then there would be a seeker that is better for turning or better for range with a better IRCCM. So yeah, there are even some more modernizations to it, but these are the most important ones. And I will leave the sources in the description, by the way, the sources that we can have for these things, right? But very interesting. It would turn basically the same, lock on before launch, so nothing too crazy. It's just that it would have a better RCCM, better range, maybe a better off-bore shooting ability, right? And then we go for the short ranges. The short ranges, of course, is mainly based on the R-73. The R-73 we already have, and the R-73E having the export designation out of it, right? Some people may talk a little bit about the R-73L, for example, that had a laser proximity fuse instead of a radar one. Doesn't matter so much. They didn't really were produced by a lot of numbers, I don't think, only for exported stuff. So it's normally confused with the R-73EL and the E, they're confused with each other. But yeah, basically nothing different, just a new proximity fuse, different proximity fuse. There is the R-74 that was never produced as well. But then we have the interesting, the R-73 that had a plan to be reversed launched. This would even be, thought about having some Sukhois that actually had the radar, the rear radar. There were plans of adding these radars to many of the aircraft that they were trying to produce. like the Su-34, the Su-37, stuff like that, would actually use a rear radar to actually lock and give the information to the missile. But I don't think he passed the prototype phase. Then we go for the actual upgrade. So what we can expect: R-27s with a better seeker, but also 2 missiles in the regards of upgrades to the R-73. At least for now. Of course, in the future we can even have more, but the thing is, the R-73M and the R-74M. The only thing that you have to worry about these missiles is that the R-73M, due to this collapse of the Soviet Union, basically led to insufficient funds for the missile itself. So they eventually just made the R-74M, but both of them could be added at a certain ability. They would use that Mark 80M seeker, so it would be a 75-degree gimbal limit after launch, 60 Gs, 50 to 60 Gs, and thrust vectoring, turn like 180 turns in 3 seconds. So it would be just a tiny little bit better from what we know from the R-73, right? The main difference here that you have to think about is that these missiles, they had an improved thrust vectoring and an improved seeker. That's the 2 main things. What is different on the seeker? Well, we talked about it. It would be a better IRCCM, just like the R-27 one, and just better gimbal limits, stuff like that. The thing about the thrust vectoring of these missiles would be that they are not just pedals and the thrust comes in a general direction in one place, and then pedals would change the semi-what direction of the thrust of the missile. It would actually be a nozzle that would turn. So it's more like the AIM-9X and stuff like that, right? It's a proper thrust vectoring system. That's where I think the R-73M, and then after that the R-74M would actually bring that. The R-74 would just have an even better IRCCM. That's why I think the R-73, although never saw proper service, the R-73M, it would probably have to be added to not be too OP, because the R-74 was a much later missile, and because of the financial struggles of the Russian economy of the 90s, it just took a lot more time. It was produced around 2015, right? So I honestly think that for the early AIM-9Xs, IDSTs, or anything like that, the R-73M should be added to the game, even though it wasn't produced, so that they don't add a 2015 missile and we don't have a power creep, right? But it would be basically the same idea, the R-74M, but again, with an even better Mark 2000 Impulse 90 seeker, so it would be even better on the IRCCM and even better turning, everything like that. Okay, guys? Of course, we can even have the R-74M2 in the far future. I mean, it's even better, much more matched with our late models of the AIM-9X. So maybe even that thing could be added. But in a general sense, it depends very much on how the AIM-9X is added, how the R-73M is added, R-74M, Python 4s and 5s, IDSTs, all the other missiles, right? But honestly, I think the next step up should be the R-73M. And then later we can think about R-74s and stuff. It's already like kind of too much for even now, right? Even better ICCMs, even better thrust vectoring, everything like that would be too much for the game itself. But yeah, this is kind of the future of the Soviet IR missiles. Better short-range version of the R-73, just a better overall here and there missile, of course, with a better seeker for the R-27. So it's not that different from what we have right now, and it comes to the thing that it isn't that big of a problem if we start to see 4.5 generations, which I think we will start to see very, very soon, with the J10 being, leaked. I'm pretty sure that we will see these 4.5 generations coming sooner and sooner. Okay, guys? So yeah, this is for the future of the Soviet missiles in the IR department. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see these missiles soon or not. Of course, remember, these missiles would be added with counters to it. Don't expect an R-74M to be added alone, of course. But yeah, I see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe, and bye. See ya.